citizens to be heard? I don't believe so. Okay, so we will pass that since no citizens to be heard. Number 3, receive a report, hold a discussion, take action on the minutes. If you've had time to review the minutes, could you say if you have any corrections or additions?
I was not here, but I've read the minutes.
Okay.
If you will move, I'll second it.
I have no additions.
You want to move?
I move that we accept the report.
Second.
Can I second? Where's our Robert rules? Okay, I'll second it since Horace wasn't here. All in favor of the minutes from our last meeting in June be approved? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, the big one. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on making a recommendation to proceed with the fence project.
Good afternoon, Cemetery Advisory Chair and Board. Happy to be here today.
Yes.
Before I begin, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you all to Amanda Parsons. She is the Parks and Recreation Director. She is also going to be serving as an ex officio member on this board moving forward. Can you hear me okay?
Not very well.
I'm sorry. Okay. Good afternoon, Cemetery Advisory Chair and Board. Before I get going, I wanted to introduce Amanda Parsons. She is the Parks and Recreation Director. She's sitting right over here. I think you had the opportunity to meet her briefly. She's also going to be serving as an ex officio on this Cemetery Advisory Board moving forward, similar as the Parks and Recreation Director has done in the past. All right. Fence update. So we went out for bids. We had 15 project packets distributed. We were very encouraged at the amount of participation of people that were interested in this project. We only received one bid from a contractor. That bid was for $835,000 from Piazza Construction. Obviously, that is well beyond what our planned budget was, and it is well beyond what we expected based on our landscape architect's probable construction cost. Where we are at now, I'm going to present you with 3 options. Option 1, we would reject all bids, which is just the one bid that we got from Piazza Construction, reduce the base scope of work. The components that we are looking to reduce the scope of would be the height of fence being from a 6-foot wrought iron fence down to a 4-foot fence. Reduce the column height down. It will vary from 4'10" to maybe just over 5 foot tall for the columns, with the exception of the columns that are attached to the entrance signs. Those would remain at the same height so that we could have the same scale for the signage as you enter the cemeteries. The other thing that we would do is remove up to 6 columns. The architect has said 5 for sure, and there is a possible 6 that we would have the ability to remove, but we would have to make an adjustment to one of the fence sections. And then we would remove the concrete mow strip, which was underneath the wrought iron fence. So if we do these, I think we are still going to have the security that we were looking for from the fence, and we are still going to have a very nice aesthetics. The design would all be the same. The brick, the fence, the columns, caps, everything that was chosen by this board would remain just as chosen, only just a little bit smaller. Then we would go back out for bid, and then we would advertise in more places, hoping to cast a wider net to attract more people to bid on our project. That is option 1. Option 2, reject all bids, leave the scope of work exactly the same, go back out to bid, advertise in more locations. Again, hopefully we'd cast a wider net, have more interest, and have more people bidding on the project. Option 3, we raise an additional $350,000+ and proceed with the bid that has been presented by Piazza Construction. Those are the 3 options that we have put together for you here today. Of those 3, staff recommends moving forward with option 1. reject all bids, reduce the base scope, generally taking the fence down to a 4-foot instead of a 6-foot, and then removing a few of the columns and the mow strip in the process. I'm present for any questions.
Do we know item per item what those cost? Like, is one overwhelmingly what's making it more expensive?
That's a great question, and the way that the bid was put together from Piazza Construction, it was a lump sum only bid. There were no individual items listed, so it made it very difficult. I did have communications with Piazza Construction, and generally, the items that we had put on here were the ones that they found to be, we would have the greatest cost savings and still be able to meet our goal of security and aesthetics of the fence.
Okay, I know that the mow strip, that's kind of huge. And the reason we were going to do that is because the last fence rusted out. Is there an alternative between those two?
Yes. So
Okay.
the mow strip from the cemetery maintenance perspective was really just going to be an aesthetic feature for mowing and weeding against. Our plan with the fence is actually to have it no closer than 6 inches to the ground at any point, and in some places 11 inches off of the ground. It will never come in contact with the ground, which that is what rusts out fences. So this will last substantially longer just by being raised off the ground. It will never come in contact with the ground.
Oh,
So
that's good.
that need is 100% met.
Okay, good. Because I was afraid that was going to run things up a lot.
Now, for two reasons, we raised it up. One, to minimize, or not minimize, to remove the potential for ground contact, and the other to minimize the potential for lawnmower contact. Raising it up off the ground, we can clear it over the mow decks and have less damage to equipment and fences. And it is designed like that in the packet from Hewitt-Zollers.
Okay. Do you have any comments for us?
You sent out, did you have a pre-bid conference?
We did not have a pre-bid as
I
required.
believe one of you, there was 15 people who picked up bid packages or contacted you some way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Did you hear back from any of them as to why they did not bid?
Several of them did not turn in their bid because they couldn't do it in a timely manner. So another component that we will do is we will make sure that it is open for an additional week. There were 4 people that reached out via phone and asked if they could turn the bid packet in a couple of days late, which is not an option when it goes
Right,
out.
I understand
So,
that. But it's just so unusual that, especially the price that you got on it, that there was not more competitive. Or
15 was
maybe
actually
the
more than I
fencing
typically
people
get.
are kind of fly by night, or apparently these
We
that
had
an
people actually
interest in
bidding
it
from
weren't too
separate.
interested.
I'm sorry.
The people that you are having to deal with, sometimes a bid conference will bring something out that the architect and the city and everybody else involved has overlooked that could change the complexion of the project.
We did field several questions. Most of the questions were in relation to gauge and thickness of fence material and spacing of pickets, nothing that required a pre-bid conference. The architect would have come to a pre-bid conference if one was going to be required. The bid was open for multiple weeks, and the questions that came through were really very general and easy to speak to, and we sent out all of the answers as addendums so that all packet holders would have the benefit of the answers that came out of those questions.
Who is the architect?
Hewitt-Zollers.
Pardon?
Hewitt-Zollers.
They do a lot of work for, they do
Are
a
they
lot
doing
of
the
work
other
for
work
the
for the
city.
city?
They do. They do lots of work for the city.
They're kind of that architect, municipal based. Well,
Would you like me to go back over the options anymore? I'm present. If there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I wish we had a print.
How long is Piazza's bid valid?
His bid, I believe, was valid for 90 days, but I would have to confirm that and get back with you.
and we can't go back to him and say, would you do it without the mow strip? not really legal. Okay.
Good question, though. Let me clarify, when we go out to bid with the reduced scope, the scope of the fence as it was originally designed, the 6-foot height, columns at all the same intervals, mow strip, all of those will be still conditional, but they won't be required in the base bid. So we will get a base bid. The new base bid will be for the 4-foot tall fence and components as I've described to you here today. There will be add options to make it a 6-foot fence at a separate line item, and an add option to have the columns as they were initially designed, and an add option to have the mow strip. And then at that point in time, if they bid it, if the winning bidder has also bid those options, and it falls within what we can afford, we can move forward with those other components.
Well, that's good. Okay, so where the columns are, getting them farther apart, that didn't have anything to do with the structural soundness of the fence.
According to the architect, no.
Okay. Okay.
So, is there any chance if we went back and threw it out again, that
There is a
Those
chance for that.
those people that wanted more time, maybe they might come forth with something on the original?
There is a chance for that, but I have no idea what their numbers, what their bids were. So as we go through
Right.
this process, it is a very time-consuming process, going through the RFP and the bid process and the selection and grading process. So we felt option one gave us the fastest route to a fence. We know that we will get numbers that are going to be less than the 835. Hopefully we get some that are substantially less than the 835, and hopefully we get some that within the add options, we can actually do the 6-foot fence, and we can do the columns and the mow strip. But we would prefer to go back out to bid the one time in an effort to speed the process. If we go back out to bid with the exact same scope and the numbers come back in as unaffordable, we'll be right back here again trying to put together more options for this board.
Okay. Any more-
Whatever we do will be a recommendation to the city council, is that correct?
Correct. We will
don't
make
have
a
the authority to
recommendation to
reject
city
the bid.
council based on the input of this board today.
Okay, when you're talking about time consuming, like, what are you talking about? How, months or
Months, yes.
months?
So the bid packet would need to be open for a bare minimum of 3 weeks and preferably 4 to allow people the time to put together a good product to turn into us. So we will have 1 week in preparation of getting it out to bid, 4 weeks, and then 1 week of selection, and then another week of grading. So we are 6 to 8 weeks for any one RFP that we do.
So that would be before Christmas, before the end of the year, then?
Yes.
Possibly that you would get that.
Pretty close, yes. It would, again, the
So
other
they
thing that,
couldn't start until spring anyway, right?
I think
there's
they
nothing
could.
that says that they couldn't start at any given time.
It may not even be cold by then. It may not even be cold by then.
Well, okay.
There's, there won't be any components of this project in North Texas that are gonna be
Okay.
stopped by a winter that we would have, typically.
The companies that you heard from that their bids were not timely or they didn't submit a bid, were they professional fence people or just general contractors like Mr. Piazza?
They were fence contractors, and all of the ones that reached out after or not after the fact, but wanting to have an extended time frame were actually not even in the state of Texas. They were from Arkansas and other states.
Wow.
So we had a pretty good reach on our packets that were picked up.
Is there any more discussion or questions? Anybody ready to make a motion about which?
Well, I guess I have one more question.
Okay.
Was the city prepared to do some of this funding that we've raised, I mean, add to it?
There's currently no
No.
funding in any of our accounts for the fence.
So it's just what we got together.
That's correct.
Oh, whoopee.
Yeah, that's kind of a gut punch.
Yeah,
Which
that
I think
is.
at this point in time, we are at roughly 460,000 raised, give or take. Yep, I
Almost.
think that's,
And I guess we're 2 weeks late. We could increase the taxes by another penny and have plenty of money. But budget's adopted. But there's always contingencies in the budget that you can wiggle some money out of if you want to. And,
I mean, are we the only ones that want this done? I mean,
Well, we've got a bunch of people that donated.
well, I meant, we
That's the
meaning,
current deal.
meaning the donors and
Right.
this committee or whatever, yeah.
So, yeah, we've raised about 460,000.
I think that's a lot of good faith
Mm-hmm.
from the citizens and families. Have we gone to the council for this before?
I think they're already raising the taxes. It's probably not a great time because we want the roads too.
there have been
That's-
past budget requests from this department for fencing for the cemetery.
They what?
There have been past requests from our department to have money set aside for fencing at the cemetery
Like for this project or just in general?
for this project.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, and we talked about we can always do it in phases if we need to. I'm just afraid it won't get finished.
I just hate to reduce it, the height and the,
Well, Chip said at least we could see how much more that costs, doing it with option one. He could add an add-on for, instead of a 4-foot fence, how much more would it be to have a 6-foot fence? And the columns, put in more columns, how much is that? So, at least we'd have an itemized, yeah. Well, are we ready to make a motion? Anyone?
well, I don't think you have any choice but to reject the bid. And I don't know.
Well, each option said reject the
I'm not
bids.
prepared to recommend that they reduce the scope of the project yet.
Okay.
yeah.
And let's work. There may be 2 or 3 council peoples we need to put our foot on their neck and see how they react. Well, I mean, this is the city of Denison. They can issue bonds for everything else.
That's right. I agree.
I don't think they've heard enough from the citizens. You ladies have just done yeoman service to raise the funds we have. But to,
Definitely have the mayor's ear and the city manager Bobby Atterbury, but of course, if we don't pass something today, that's going to be 90 days before we can get
I
going
know,
again.
But that's,
well, if we recommend they rebid, that they reject the bid, and they do, then you go back, then the city council directs the architect to go back to the drawing board with input for whatever we have and the staff has.
But that's what that is, to reduce the height and reduce the
Yeah.
columns.
Well,
This was based on information I had reached out to the architect and asked him to, working with what I took from my conversation with Piazza Construction, these were the recommendations put together from Hewitt Zollers. So if we go back and actually do a redesign, then we will also have additional design fees.
is the architect's fee being paid out of the funds the committee has raised?
Have
is.
been paid.
They
Yes.
They have been paid.
So there'll be another fee there.
Right.
How much
Plus
was that,
90
Chris?
more days. I don't remember. I have it somewhere.
I'd say
Chip,
I'd
do you
like
know?
to see it with this size fence and this size fence,
But they don't know,
Fairview here, Magnolia here.
but we don't have those figures.
I said that in the next bid proposal,
Yeah.
to
well,
break it
that's-
out. to
Yeah,
where the-
that's what this would
But I
be.
want to see the difference.
I can
what
have that
Fairview's
done
gonna
in the
cost
next
and what
bid.
Magnolia's gonna cost.
I can specify that it is line itemed and that they must bid on the individual line items so that I can see the dollar amounts.
I think that'd be great.
But the projects are a singular, Magnolia and Fairview. It is as a singular project. They'll be bidding on them as one, not one individually over the other.
Because part of our grant money is that we do Magnolia first
Oh, it is?
from one of
So I
our
knew the
donors.
staff had always been talking Magnolia first, and
And that
I
was
think
part,
some of us got into this thinking that this is Fairview and then Magnolia tagged on, but it got reversed.
To clarify, the funding is for both cemeteries, and they do have to be the same, like materials and same time frame.
I don't think I can make a motion.
Between a rock and a hard place.
Well, I'm thinking that at least if we did option one, we would know a lot more than we know now. And we've got new information that we don't need the Moho strip. So, and as far as Piazza construction bid, he may have just thrown that out there. We may get something really close to what we were thinking when we go back the second time.
Who is the contact with Piazza? Do you know the person?
Rod White is my contact at Piazza.
Who?
Rod White,
White.
the vice president of Piazza.
I know it's frustrating, but we can't do 839,000 when we're only sitting here with, 459. So if we table it, we can't do anything for 90 days, so I'm hoping someone will make a motion. We can still go to the city council.
Horace, what's your thinking?
Well, I'd still like to look at a bid proposal with some options in it. The 6 foot, but now this, if you adopt one, that's gonna reduce the height from 6 to 4 foot.
But
The
I don't
fence-
think
the
you're
fence-
hearing what I was saying. Yes, it's gonna reduce all that, but then there's gonna be line items. If we go to 6 foot, how much more will that be? And they'll have a line item amount. And if we go to reduce column height for this, then what would it be if it was regular? And we can at least pick and choose what we think's
Okay.
most important.
I'm satisfied.
Okay. Sorry, it's hard to hear. What,
Are y'all
there
able to hear
things
me
in
okay
there
speaking into the
that
microphone?
Staff could do to reduce the cost?
are there any
Are there
things
things
to,
in the project that staffs could do with the existing equipment?
Yes.
Site preparation or?
We
for
have
the-
already outlined all of those in the project. So demolition of what is there, tree removal, reestablish of sod, irrigation, all of that is going to be done by staff in an effort to save money.
awesome.
Oh,
So
there's
those
an
are
in-
not even components that will be bid on. Those are things that staff will take on.
So there's an irrigation system in the bid?
No, there's a current irrigation system that would have to get rerouted to allow for what's happening.
Oh, I didn't know there was an irrigation system. I think there are a lot of hydrants and rubber hoses drug around.
There's
And
a lot
some
of all of
families
that
have
out there.
chosen-
There's hydrants and hoses and irrigation and there's a lot of everything out there. At the entrance gates, there are landscape flower beds that are out there, and all of those are irrigated. So all of that will have to get
okay.
rerouted, which will all be done by staff. And all of the landscape replacement will all be done by staff. In all, staff's contributions on this will be probably in excess of $50,000 of what it would have been to add those to the bid.
And that'll be in the bid packet as to what the staff will do versus what the contractor's gonna be required to do.
Yes, it will say by city. So there will be a zero line item for them to bid on. The other component that the city will be taking on will be the automated gate and video system that will be there. The city will take on that expense as well.
Oh, that's good. Because that was,
I still
big.
find it interesting that the bid was several $1,000s more than the architect's estimate.
The architect was equally as surprised.
several
How,
hundred.
how current were his numbers? Or did we do an exercise that, with numbers from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago?
No.
No, they were current numbers.
Okay. Well, a lot of inflation out there. Are you ready for a motion?
If you have one,
I move the recommendation to City Council be for cemetery project option 1.
okay. Do I have a second?
Okay, second.
A begrudging second? Begrudgingly? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Yeah, option 3 was no-go. No 350,000. No one is happy to see me or Ann. See us coming with our hands out.
Well, I think it becomes our responsibility as an advisory board to visit with members of the city council and the city manager, and let them know where we are and see if they'll come to our aid.
I just don't see that this ought to be just what we want. I mean, certainly, that it's this board and these contributors, that it isn't what the city wants too.
Well, I think it's been something they wanted for a long time, but it's never been in the budget.
I know,
So-
that's what's heartbreaking, that it was never that important.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we've made it important, and these
Right.
people have made it important, all these contributors, so maybe that speaks for something.
For sure, for sure. Okay, on to the next staff. Road conditions, Mr. Eggers.
All right. This will be a very, unfortunately, a very quick update. So we did receive some money last year to re-gravel the roads at Oakwood and Magnolia Cemetery, and staff has completed both of those projects at Oakwood and Magnolia. All of the roads have now been completely regraded and re-graveled. It has made a very nice difference. As you can see, we took a couple of pictures here that we could show you all in case you've not made it out to see them. The larger was the new roads that we were hoping to get at Fairview Cemetery. So additional funding was requested at the beginning to begin the process of repaving the roads at Fairview Cemetery. Typically, so we are September 10th. Typically at this point in time, I would be well informed as to what budget requests that we made for this upcoming year, what would be approved. There have been some delays within the city's budget, and as of today, I don't have the information as to what has been approved or what has not been approved. I do feel confident that this week I will have an idea of what will be approved in the city's budget for the upcoming year. There was a large ask for roads to be repaved at Fairview Cemetery. So I know it's a priority. It made it all the way to a city council meeting. I saw it on a priority board. So at this point in time, I don't know where we stand with that, though. If we find that information, I can share that, just where we're at with the budget and what we plan to do moving forward with the roads at Fairview this upcoming year. Any questions on that?
No, that's great. Keep after it.
I had asked the deputy city clerk I see you have a map.
Uh-huh.
I had one, and I thought I gave it to the county commissioner, and she told me we'd have copies here today. Well,
Oh, yeah, here
I
it
think
is.
what I have is what I brought with me.
Oh, it may be that packet.
Oh, okay, I went the wrong way. Well, you got the,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
That's great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
well,
All right, I jumped ahead. That was it for the update for,
so there may or may not be money in the current budget for the road work.
it couldn't have been said better. There may or may not be money in it.
It's-
What has happened in the past is there's an intergovernmental relationship between Grayson County and the city of Denison for that work. And they'll come, Public Works Director and the county commissioner would compare notes and see who has the best bid for the supplier of materials, whether it's rock or road oil, cover stone. And then the county has the equipment and the know-how to do that. And of course, I think Denison has acquired a lot more paving equipment in recent years too. So,
The budget request that we submitted for this upcoming year was based on that interlocal agreement with the county for the city to supply the materials and
I talked
department
with
with
the
the county
commissioner
to
yesterday.
apply
I
it.
think that's what happened to my map, but he denies it. But I'll get this to him and ask him to, is Public Works Director the person to talk to, or is somebody lower down?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Should the commissioner talk to Public Works Director, or is there somebody in the street department he ought to talk to, or?
He should speak with me.
Hmm?
He should speak with me. I would be
Okay.
happy to meet him on site. I've met several of the commissioners out there in the past.
Anything
But
else?
I think their oil season, they're about out of money, but they still have labor and equipment. So if the city can come up,
And a driver for the
well,
truck.
and, you know, Denison may have got a better bid on materials than the county, and, or if not, they can use the county's bid to get the materials and then reimburse the county.
The city gets a very good rate on asphalt. Working with RK Hall, we've got quotes on that, and it is in line with what the county also gets asphalt for.
You anticipate these being asphalt roads as opposed to chip and seal?
I anticipate those being 2-inch overlay,
What?
a 2-inch overlay over what's currently there with asphalt.
Oh, I may have misspoke then. I don't think the county has the equipment to lay off asphalt. I thought all the roads were chipped and sealed. That's a new day, huh? Okay. I'll have to back off of everything I said.
When I met with the prior commissioner out there, he seemed to think that they had the equipment to do it. I'm not an asphalt expert, but they did feel confident that they
Okay.
would have the equipment to
I'll
do it.
find out.
Thank you, and go ahead.
We
We'll
did,
add considerably to it if you want that hot mix laid down.
yes. So we also went out and received a quote from a contractor just as a baseline as to what it would cost to pay somebody to repave the roads as well.
And,
It was a lot. It was approaching $300,000.
whoa,
But you don't know what's in the budget.
I do not.
but it's not that. I bet. I
If
can
so,
guarantee.
The amount requested was
If it's
$150,000 for
we
roads
move
and
it to
new
the
signs.
cemetery account.
Anything else, Chip?
That's it. Unless you have further questions, I'm ready to move on to the next item.
I just want to thank all of the staff for all you do. You're all amazing, and you know you've had a lot to work with, and boy, you're making progress, and it looks beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Item B.
Oh, yeah, item B.
So our Our last agenda item, so the Cemetery Advisory Board member terms are expiring, some of them. So the application process is open from October 1st through October 31st. If you are an expiring member, and if you know somebody that would like to,
Fetch
you
with
have a-
words. You know, you gotta laugh.
if there are
We
any
may look at it.
recommendations, please feel free to direct them to the city's website or to the city clerk's office.
Say, I'm having a lot of difficulty understanding.
He said if you were an expiring member, you could.
But you need to reapply.
You need to reapply, for sure. If you are not sure if you are able to occupy a chair, you can reach out to me directly and I can share with you.
I think she said something to me. Janet is the mayor's appointee. There's, mayor has an appointee, and then the council does this, some others.
So all board members must fit within certain criteria, whether they are a loved one or a veteran or a philanthropic or mayor's designee. Almost all must live within the city of Denison's borders to occupy a seat. So to occupy a seat, you must first meet all criteria involved for that seat.
Do you think that we could get a copy emailed to us of the option one and then what the criteria is and our terms?
Yes.
That would be helpful. That would be very helpful. Because I think some of us were appointed just for one term and some for two or whatever.
I have all of the information. I'd be happy to speak with each of you individually
Okay,
if you
that's
have any
great.
questions about your
You're
term
not
specifically.
termed up.
So you know what our terms are?
I do.
Okay, you can tell me.
Okay. Is there any further business?
Before you get too far along, you may want to check with the city clerk's office. Because I do not live in the city of Denison. I don't think Chris does either. And they told us at the time the appointment didn't make any difference.
I think we're filling two positions that you don't have to.
Okay.
I have accurate and up-to-date information. I'd be happy
Okay.
to speak to each of you individually.
Is there any further business from the committee or staff? Or our new Parks and Rec? It's a very exciting meeting. We make very grave decisions. Okay, there being no further business, meeting 2:37, meeting adjourned.